Welcome to Nina in the Kitchen, where today I am making a boneless pork loin wrapped in prosciutto with garlic and rosemary, olive oil, and roasted potatoes. This is such a flavorful meal and so simple to make. I can't believe I haven't done it for you already. So let's get started. What's nice about this recipe is you can scale it up or down. I have a 2-pound roast today, so this will feed about 4 people. Along with that, you want some rosemary. This is about a teaspoon of fresh minced rosemary. And the way to do that is you just get your rosemary branches, hold it at the top, and just pull backwards on those needles, and they'll come right off for you. The other thing I have is 3 cloves of garlic. You want to take this little root end off, and then just kind of peel that skin right off. As soon as you smash it, that skin wants to come right off. And I'm going to mince this garlic as well. 8 ounces per person is a portion of meat. And if you go over a 3-pound roast, it doesn't come out quite as good. So what I do is I cut these, if I'm doing a big party, cut these into 3-pound roasts, and then they're perfect. Because of the size of this, instead of using a big roasting pan, I'm just using this 13-inch skillet. And the reason is that can go right into the oven, and I just find it easier to wash, etc. So it's up to you. You can do a roasting pan or not. On this roast, there's no fat. There's very little, I should say. There's a little bit on the back. This roast came like this. Sometimes you'll see a whole fat cap, and if you do, be careful, because what may be underneath, I don't see it on this one, but there's connective tissue that is not, it's inedible, it has no nutritional value, and it's just kind of bothersome. So I will take that off. And the way you take it off is you get a foothold, if you will, under the fat, and then you just you angle your blade up on your knife, and you just kind of wiggle back and forth, and that will come right off. Because this is fat, and this is such a lean cut, I'm putting it right back on there. So, next up, olive oil. You just want to oil this whole thing. A little salt and pepper. Now, you don't have to use prosciutto for this, but I find that prosciutto is the easiest thing to find other than bacon. Bacon is good on this, and pancetta is too. Pancetta, if you don't know it, it's just like bacon. It's Italian bacon. It's not smoked. It's cured, but it's not smoked. So that's also a great flavor, and those two things will add fat, whereas prosciutto does not. So it's important, especially if you have prosciutto, to oil this. This pan is on a medium heat. I'm just letting it heat up, and I'm going to just sort of dress this, if you will, with, I have the salt and pepper, and now just a little garlic and rosemary. I have a little leftover garlic, and I haven't talked about this yet, but I have 2 pounds of potatoes in here, just waiting to be cut, dressed with olive oil, salt and pepper, and I'm going to add the rosemary garlic to that. Why not? I measured this so that it would go around the roast and give me plenty of room to tie. And then I just cut 4 pieces exactly the same size. Now I'm just going to take this prosciutto and lay it right down across, and then you guessed it, the roast goes on top of that. This is about a 1/4 pound. You just want to make sure that this is lined up. Put your roast on there, and then some of this will wrap around the roast, as you can see, but not all of it. So then you just cover the top with the rest of the prosciutto. You want about 5 or 6 rosemary sprigs, and I'm just going to place them around the prosciutto. What these do is they'll eventually bake and then roll off. The needles fall off of this, and they make a really nice little addition to the potatoes that go in here and also to the meat. This is called a surgeon's knot. Let me tie it this way so you can see. You just take 2 pieces of string and you loop it through once, loop it through twice, and then tie it down. And that will hold, instead of trying to put your finger there or something. It's just very easy. Let me show you that again. You loop it through once, twice, knot it down. It's not really going anywhere, and then you just tie it off. And then just cut the extra string off of this, and make sure to take that off when the roast comes out. So my oven is preheating to 350 degrees, but I'm going to start searing this, and I'm going to call it a light sear. You don't want to go too brown with this. You just want to sear it to a golden brown because it's going to keep baking in the oven, or roasting I should say. Flipping this over, and then there's more rosemary to go in here. Even now, the aromas of the rosemary and the garlic. This is a very nice meal. Couple little tours with your olive oil, and then this goes right in. While that's browning, I'm just going to cut these into wedges. This roast will take about 40 minutes in the oven. It comes out when the internal temp comes to about 135, 137. I'm cutting these pieces. I'm just sort of judging this. I want these pieces to roast and take about the same time as the pork roast takes. You don't always get it right, but that's okay because you can always put those back in and crisp them up while your roast is resting. So the potatoes, I'm just putting, I would say that's 2 tablespoons of olive oil on there. Potatoes need salt. That's about a teaspoon. And pepper. I'm just going to toss these all together. I find that this is the easiest way to do it. If I put them in a pan, it just doesn't work out quite as well as if you use your hands on this one. And now let's take a look at this. That is perfect. You don't want to go any darker than this golden brown. It smells so good. I'm just going to put the potatoes around this. Start them browning up as well. This is my favorite thermometer. It's wonderful. So I'm just going to put this right in the center of the roast and put this in the oven. This wire can stay outside of the oven door, and I set the temperature for 135. Welcome back. This is the second take of this because I forgot to turn my mic on. I apologize. So I'll just have to walk you through everything that I did. I had the roast in the oven, 350, until it came out at 135. I put it on a little sheet pan and covered it with foil, and then also covered it with a tea towel just to keep it cozy. That's just what I do. You cut the kitchen twine, take that off of your roast, and you want to let it sit for about 15 minutes for something this size. What that does is it redistributes all of the juices. When your meat is roasting, all of the juices get sort of active. And if you cut it when you first take it out of the oven, it's going to just sort of gush all of those beautiful juices out and leave you with a dry piece of meat. So you must do that. I used Yukon Gold potatoes. They came out nice and crusty. I would use Yukon or a russet potato. Turn your attention to the pan. As you can see, there were some bits and pieces at the bottom. That's called fond, and that is flavor. You don't want to let that go. Get some water, chicken broth, and if you're using wine to deglaze the pan, that's what it's called, use half wine, half water. Otherwise, as the wine dissipates, as you're scraping, it's going to be a little too strong for this roast. So wine, water, or chicken broth, or all of the above, it doesn't matter. Put that in, scrape it while your pan is still hot, and then you get these lovely juices. And you can keep these little bits in or not. You can put this through a fine mesh strainer and have it beautifully clear. But let me show you what this roast looks like. I cut one piece. Here's another, and you see it's just perfectly rosy. It's not medium rare, it's just perfect. And for today's pork, that's exactly what you want. If you get it so that it's cooked all the way through, it is so dry that it's just not a pleasant bite. Let me taste it for you. If you like, you can just take this, they should be kind of crispy, and just strew those around the platter. Let me take one of these potatoes. And of course, you can't forget the jus. Make sure you get a little piece of prosciutto. That is a delicious bite. The garlic and rosemary and that in combination with pork is just so incredible. And then of course the prosciutto on top of that, you can't tell where all the flavors are coming from, but it's just a big flavor punch. It's so delicious. It's moist. The potato, I don't know which I like better, the pork or the potato, and they're beautifully seasoned with the salt, pepper, the garlic, and the juices from the pan. It's one of my favorite meals. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I hope to see you next time. Bye, guys.